Hey, how's it going? It's James from VFX Nomad, and I'm going to do a quick little Clarisse spotlight on the material linker in Clarisse, of course. So the material linker is one of a few different ways that you can apply materials to objects within Clarisse. It's kind of the simplest one. So here I've just got 3 balls and I've got 3 materials, and if I just drag and drop that material, it goes onto this object. I can see that if I change to previs mode. Ta-da, done. Just to prove it again, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click red on that one. Now, what's happening is kind of behind the scenes. So this is familiar if you're coming from Maya or something like that. But what's happening is if we look at the material linker, which is its own window over here, you'll see that over here under material, it now says red. If I click this third one, you'll see that there's nothing there. So I can drag and drop as we saw, or I can just double click on here and go to material and go to red. And there we go. So that in its easiest way is how you can apply things on the material linker. Now I mentioned that there are multiple different ways to apply materials. So just really quickly, if I select this middle one, please note that it still says red. And I scroll down in the attributes and I'm going to look for the override. So there we go. So here we have under shading, we have this option of an override material. So I'm going to click on that and I'm just going to click the blue object, blue material. And what you'll see here is now it is blue, right? Kind of as you would expect, but just to point it out, if we select this thing and we have a look down here, it still says that it's red. So clearly what's happening is red is actually assigned to it and then we're overriding it with blue, which is the correct outcome. Last but not least is the shading layer approach. I'm going to sort of try and be super quick with this because it can be very confusing. So we're just going to create a shading layer here, and then I'm going to open the shading layer editor. So if you click the plus button, you can add, you've got this here that you can pick. So if I click on it, I'm going to click this little plus button here, and under filter, I'm just going to put a star because a star just means everything. So I've now said everything, and it's asking me what material everything gets. And I'm going to say everything gets the green material. So how do we activate this? If we drag and drop the shading layer here next to the previs button, it will actually apply it and show us what it's doing. So you can see here that even though if I click on each of these objects and look at the material linker, there will say red, the shading layer is winning. Okay, so I just tell you this to give you a bit of warning that if you are going to go with the kind of pick an approach, right? Go with one or the other, generally speaking, especially if you're collaborating with other people, because it could be a nightmare trying to figure out what's going on sometimes. But actually, if you are ever confused as to what's going on, you can click on this little dropper and then just middle click on anything and it will take you to that material and where it's coming from, which is kind of a neat little shortcut. Right, just to finish up on shading layers, I'm going to delete it in a second. If you look up here, it says rule data has priority. We're just going to switch over and it says objects. So you do have the ability to choose who wins, right? But yes, enough about shading layers. I'm going to delete that because we are talking about the material linker. So material linker, we have this first section here, which is the shading group. So if when you exported from Maya, you'd applied materials to different parts, and then it said when you imported it, hey, do you want to bring in the materials? And you said yes, they'd be different face sets. Now, don't worry too much if you're not getting anything here. I'm not getting anything. But if you have multiple groups there, that's because when you imported, you said, yes, I want the face sets, or yes, I want the materials, and they would be here. The second one is the material itself, which we've already gone over. This third one here is a clip map. Now, clip map's like a cheap opacity map. Opacity maps can get very expensive because it's trying to calculate everything on a grayscale for every pixel that it sees of a said object, blah, blah, blah. So with a clip map, it doesn't do that. It just says, is it on or is it off? And I can show you that very quickly. What we'll do is we'll go over here. We will create some kind of gradient. Great, there we go, gradient, thank you very much. And I'm going to say based on the object slope, one side can be white and the other side can be black. Okay, cool. So I'm going to select an object, this first one here, and I'm going to say clip map you go in there. All right. Let me just undo that really quick because it's a bit weird to see what's going on. So here I'm actually just going to plug the gradient into the color so we can see it a bit better. So we can see here that it's black at the top and it's white on the sides. And if I slide this over, it'll become a, there you go. So the top is black, sides are white. Now, if I take that and I drop it in the clip map, you'll see that, yeah, it's basically got rid of the top part and it's kept the bottom part. So that's what a clip map does. If you're getting really long render times with things like you're punching out leaves or textures or alphas, then do it this way. You'll get a much faster result. So I'm going to turn that off. And then last, we have this displacement section. Now, displacement requires kind of us to bunny hop through this displacement node. And the reason for that is we need to set a bound. So that's kind of like a maximum distance. And we also need to set any kind of offset. So if you've made your texture where 0.5 is kind of no movement, then 1 or 0, you just need to tell it. And so to display that, what we're going to do is we're going to go noise, and cellular noise will do. And I'm going to just plug the cellular noise in here really quick. There you go, nice and pretty. And what we'll do is we'll plug in the displacement now. So I've dropped in the displacement node. And now I need to plug in our cellular noise to that displacement. And you see it kind of goes, there are multiple reasons for that. One is we've set our bound to nothing. So it got really confused. And we haven't set an offset, and we haven't actually like tessellated this thing at all. But we don't really need to get into that because clearly it is displacing. Something is happening. That much is clear. So last but not least is this shading variable. Don't tend to use it except in sort of professional environments. It tends to be where you store data such as like, hey, go here on the server and look for this particular type of map, or go here and look for that particular type of map. Not a huge fan of doing it that way myself, but hey, it's there if you want to do it. So shading group, faces that you picked, material, the material that you want, clip map, can I see it, can I not see it, displacement, that thing, shading variables, where do things live if you're going to get super geeky about it. And that is it. So I will save out this project for you. You can have a look around it and see if it makes sense to you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Subscribe if you thought this was all right. And yeah, give me any feedback you got. It's nice to hear from everyone and realize I'm not just shouting into the nothingness of the world. All right, that's it. Have a good one.